Hello and welcome. Today we've got Sandy Glaze and we'll be discussing inner peace, inner work and consciousness. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Telegram channel and to nicholasveniamin.com. And I will leave the link below for Sandy Glaze's links for you to follow her as well. Now, if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview if we choose to behave ourselves and use our words wisely. Sandy, thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic as always. I'm just, I'm waiting, for things to happen. I'm feeling great. I'm planting seeds. I'm interviewing great people like you, and I'm trying to do the best I can. So, sorry.
You are doing an amazing job. And I've had so many people who have reached out to me and they want me to tell you how happy they are with you. So a lot of the sessions I do now, they run about an hour. We spend usually 10 minutes talking about you, that they're quite impressed with the work you do, your values, your standards, how you present yourself, how you see the world and things like that. So some of these people are in Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio, Idaho, Alberta, Canada. I got a text message from one of my clients yesterday, said, you got to go watch Nicholas and Michelle fielding right now. And I'm like, really? And that was an amazing interview. Ontario, of course, Colorado. There's a lot of people who were quite pleased with you. I just wanted to pass that on just to let you know.
Well, thank you thank you very much to the viewers and to those people that made those remarks. Thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be where I am, and including yourself, Sandy, guests like you, I wouldn't be here where I am. So no, I really appreciate that. However, I know Michelle Fielding personally, and I'm quite comfortable with her. So when I listen back to the interview, which I don't usually do, I listened to myself and I thought, oh my God, I was too comfortable.
No, not never. You're very personable, and that's what people want to see, right? That's what they love about you, I think, anyways.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. It means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So how are you, and what's happening with, with people, working within, doing the inner work and also consciousness? What are your views about that?
Well, with your interview yesterday with Michelle, and she was talking about the consciousness is key and how you out vibrate the bug, I think was the example you guys used, which was pretty funny, right? So we're starting to see a lot of the energies are changing and we're becoming more aware. And what I'm finding, a lot of the people I work with, they're afraid to go inside and do the inner work. And we live in a society where we have not been encouraged to go inside and know who we are. Media is always a distraction, entertainment's a distraction. So once they're having trouble finding their way in. So I thought maybe we would talk a little bit about finding your way inside, going inside into your different bodies and starting to look around. And the reason why, I think I told you last time about the glitches that were starting to happen and things are disappearing, right? Last week, I'm outside having dinner on my deck and the neighbors are throwing the ball against the wall. And the dog didn't get it. And they're back there and they're looking for the ball. And I'm like, okay, well, that's weird because they never come off the deck. The dog always fetches. And the guy goes, where's the ball? And he goes, it's not in the tree. He goes, maybe it went over the fence, meaning over into my yard. So I stood up and I said, what are you guys looking for? Like a ball? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, what color is it? Because I'm looking and I don't see it. And he goes, neon green. He goes, oh my God, it's right in front of me. It's been here this whole time. So things are starting to glitch in and out of the different dimensions. I'm hearing so many more stories about that. And if we don't have enough on our plate right now, we're raising consciousness, dimensions are shifting. We're going to need a sense of humor to get us through some of this, right? Because they're going to start losing their mind and wondering why they can't find things. So that's happening even more, right? So there's a saying that if eyes are the window to the soul, the heart is the portal to ascension, and the mind is the conductor that brings all of this together. So if any of our parts of our body are not working properly, we can skew what it is we're trying to manifest and bring in, right? So while the goal of darkness is to try to destroy and confuse our minds, so when I look at consciousness, I'm looking at what's in front of me, and I look exactly what they don't want us to see. So sometimes when we look at what's negative in front of us, you don't absorb it. You just say, really? You just see it for what it is, but then you start to go underneath it and look at exactly what it is that they don't want you to see. So when the goal of darkness is to confuse and destroy the organic signals that normally keep the mind and body in equilibrium and balance while shutting down our ability that allows DNA to signal the body, we need to focus on those kind of things. What's inside the body? How does our DNA work? How do we communicate within ourselves? Can we talk to our organs? Can we talk to our body parts? How do we do that? And what's the goal when we're trying to do that? What are we trying to do when we bring on RNA? So that's kind of where I'm going with this. Whoever controls the mind controls the soul and controls the consciousness. And things are going to get crazier before they get better. I'm not sure if you heard in Georgia, some woman, cashier, told a man to go put on his mask. He left the store and came back with a gun and shot her and killed her. We're starting to see cruisers, like people starting to ram police cruisers. We're starting to see some crazy stuff, right? So we know that some of those minds might be signaled at a different level using whatever kind of technology. But our objective is if we keep out vibrating it, it's not going to affect us.
I like what you said earlier. You said the people, say that again about the controlling the mind and the soul. Say that again.
Whoever controls the mind and they control the consciousness and they control the soul of the person.
Okay, great. Because that is exactly what the mainstream media has been doing.
Totally.
They control the minds and which controls the soul and the consciousness. And as soon as we stop watching mainstream media, I think is a big, big contribution to raising consciousness. I think if we were to start doing the inner work, the first thing we have to do is just close that television and bring yourself back to reality and ask yourself what you see in front of you, how you actually feel. I mean, I'm just talking from my experience, but I'm going to let you take over.
And that is great that you're talking from your experience, because there's no right or wrong. We're all at different levels. We've all gone through different things, past lives. And I really want to stress there is no right or wrong, but it's your desire to know yourself on a deep level, to know how your body ticks, how you work. That is, so you set the intention and then you look at what your obstacles are. What is your biggest obstacle? And you just said it, the television.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching a Bruce Lipton video, this video with him in it. And he was starting to talk about, he goes, I am the conductor. I am the broadcaster. My body is the television set. If we knew that we are the antenna within all of our senses, that we can sense what's going on, if we can get past all the 5G and all the interferences, it doesn't matter if it's the music, tuned at 448 hertz, it doesn't matter what it is, but if we can get past all of that interference and stay aligned and coherent with ourselves, how powerful are we?
Very powerful.
So Sandy, really powerful, right? So Sandy wakes up yesterday morning and I'm thinking about these solar flares, whatever, who knows what's coming? We don't know. And that's the beauty about being curious, right? And I thought, what if when we raise our consciousness, if we can do so much with our minds, that we are the one who creates the EMP and takes out the technology? So what if we're worried about it taking us out, we're taking out the technology? What if we're supposed to raise our consciousness and we take it out because we're that powerful?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's just a thought that came in and I bounced it off a few people and they're like, that makes sense. Right?
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to manifesting and creating what we want right in front of us. Because then is that going to take, so I have a feeling we're going to climb density, which means we're not going to be, I think we're going to still be in a physical body, but maybe not all the time.
Going forward, you mean in the future,
yes.
While we're evolving?
Yeah, I think it's going to be bigger than what we think. It's not just going to be we're the love and the light and blah, 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 blah. I think there's going to be a lot more that happens, that we are going to be able to do things with our consciousness. But I haven't quite, and my reasoning, I think we're in the physical body so that we can use our senses so we can feel. How do you know anything's in front of you is real? You feel it.
Yes, and absolutely. So you're saying that in the future to come, saying to your friend, I'll see you tomorrow, I'm going to astral project tonight, maybe I'll meet you in New York. Yeah. In an astral, way, if you like, maybe that would be the new norm.
I think you're right on. And so I started practicing with one of the women I know in Florida. And we had agreed at the last session that we were going to meet up energetically and mentally an hour before the session this week. And we were going to see if we could figure out what each other was thinking. And I've done this before where I work with one woman, we tap into our thymus, we tap into our energy fields. And then I like to see the person first. but we go, tell me 3 things you want me to work on. And then I'll tell her 3 things I want her to work on. We go off the screen, we go each into our own little corner kind of thing, and we work on it, and we'll come back and tell them what it is that is giving them a problem. Because sometimes it's easier for other people to see what's troubling you or what your issues are. We are on the money. So I want to go to this person on Monday. So an hour beforehand, she was thinking of me, I was thinking of her, and I was thinking of something else that I was going to do that night. Right. So she calls, 4:00, we meet up, and she goes, I thought about you at 3. And she goes, I was in my office, and there's a little bonsai plant up here. It's a plastic, not a plant, it's a plastic like a statue. She took a picture of it, and she goes, Japan came up. That's what she told me. And I start smiling because, Betty, you've interviewed with Betty. Betty does, she creates like water bottles and draws and paints on them. I have a friend who had married a man from Japan, and she loves the cherry, like the cherry blossoms. So I had her make one up for this friend. She gave it to me on Sunday, and I'm looking at it about 3:00 on Monday. She's telling me Japan. I'm thinking of my friend with his water bottle in my hand. Totally meet you in New York tomorrow. That's where we're headed.
Exactly.
Really think, so I'm just using it as an example. So we're crawling and walking before we run. But if I can do this, anybody can do this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that I've got any kind of special.
Well, we're human beings. This is what we all have. We all have to learn to tap into. And We've been suppressed for so many years, all our lives. So, when we speak about meditation or astral projection or things to do with the soul and creating our own reality and manifestation, it sounds surreal to the odd person in the high street.
I know. And that's where it's going to be a bit of a problem. And instead of trying to convince them to come along with us on this journey, people have to make up their own mind. I think the leaders lead the leaders kind of thing. And then as sooner or later, the divide is going to be there. People are going to see, well, maybe that's a better way. Maybe I don't like this way anymore. And maybe they're not going to come along in the beginning, but sooner or later, they're going to decide that looks like more fun than what I'm going through right now, right? You and Michelle were discussing 55 to 58%. And we need 60% for the tipping point to happen. And you're going, I think you guys quoted the number 2 million people. Isn't it easier to go after those 2 million people and try to bring more people up energetically with the skills who are already committed, but bring their abilities up to that higher vibration than try to convince somebody who, no matter what, they're not going to get it.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean. It could be even just the truth community who are already awake.
Totally.
Just raise the existing consciousness up, and then that would do the work for the rest.
Totally, right? So I was quite excited with your interview yesterday. I even watched parts of it twice, right? Just because I thought I was really impressed with it. So, but so that just goes to show, even though I've not seen any of her videos before, everybody has got a piece of the puzzle. We're all bringing it forward. As we're bringing it forward, we're all learning something from it. I learned things, like quite a few things from you guys yesterday. I understand about raising the vibration above the bug, right? I also understand bees don't fly, they levitate.
Mm-hmm.
So we can learn so much just by watching whatever's around us to see how they do that. And when we try to share our consciousness with that of the bee, will we be able to levitate?
Mm-hmm. I find also the more conscious we are, or the more aware we are of ourselves, it could be body language or the way we talk or the way we eat, or even when we find ourselves slouching in the middle of a conversation, even just noticing things like that about ourselves, we automatically become more aware of others around us, because it goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yes.
And that helps increase the consciousness as well.
And when so when we look at our senses, our sentience, our ability to feel and sense things around us, I look at what you're describing there. You gave a few different examples, but look at sensitivity as a noun and as a verb, as a thing, and watching it in action. So it's kind of what you're just saying there, whether you're slouching in a chair, what your body language is. You can look at all these things in different contexts to help give you even more awareness. It's like seeing something, all the dimensions of something, instead of seeing it just like the front of whatever it is, right?
Like one dimension or one side of it. We see different angles, absolutely. But that's what it is. It's perspective. There are so many ways of looking at things, and depending on how we look at things, different perspectives. It depends on our reality, because whatever we give, we get back. So it's up to us how to look at things.
Yes and no, but there's a lot of outside interference.
Okay.
And as we are growing, and people have to make up their own minds on what they stand for. So I look at this, that we're in a spiritual war, and the purpose of our spirituality is to grow and evolve our spiritual abilities. That means we become our best and highest self. Mm-hmm. Some people don't want that. So I'm working with somebody yesterday, and I met her for the first time, and I tapped in before the session. I said, okay, what's come up for me is major self-esteem issues. And she described herself, and it's like, there's no self-esteem issue there at all. And then I'm like, I'm not wrong. Like, I'm not bragging. It's just one of the things that I can do. Right. And I'm like, I'm not wrong. So then she started talking about a meeting, and I said, and women were giving her a hard time, sending her psychic attack, all kinds of things. Well, she was getting it from like 6 different sides. It was affecting her self-esteem, but she didn't contribute that. She goes, I feel good about myself, but she didn't realize that outside interference was landing on her, shaping her reality. And I say this to people, stay in your own lane. Like, there's such a shallow aspect of people. So we have to know how to protect ourselves energetically from people who mean harm. It doesn't matter if it's from the current situations that are going on with the injectables. It doesn't matter what it is. We have to protect ourselves and know that's part of your spiritual growth, is protect yourself from the outside. Like, we already know where you stand, but you're making a stand, but you're protecting yourself. You're just saying, no way. But you're also not letting anything land on you. Mm-hmm. More people need to know they have the right to do that. So that's what I'm finding, right? That you're supposed to bring out all of our own unique abilities. That's what we're supposed to do. But we also have to know that not everybody's intentions are good. We set our intention first, that we want to evolve spiritually. We want to be our best and highest self. Then we put protection on ourselves to make sure that nobody's trying to stop you.
Absolutely.
The example can be simple as changing the frequencies on the electronics in a city, or doing something to the water. It can be anything like that tries to stop people too. Like, it doesn't have to be one-on-one. It could be anybody who wants to stop the evolution and the spiritual growth in whatever capacity. Mm-hmm. So I'm not just making it personal about one-on-one. It doesn't mean it's personal at all. It just means that some people want us slowed down and stopped.
Growing the consciousness.
Right.
Yeah. So and how do you think they're doing that? When you say outside interference, probably from the black hats, they're probably using some kind of conscious manipulation or technology frequency to manipulate our consciousness. And how do you think they're doing that?
I think they're using a lot of the frontline workers. And I am trying to think back to something that I saw. It was a fellow who was changing something on one of the cell towers. And when he opened the box, he was told not to open it. It said CB19 on it.
I saw that. Yeah. On the circuit board. Yeah.
So he's not even aware he's being used in that example. So we have to watch for triangulation. We have to watch for things like that too, because people get used sometimes without knowing they're being used.
Yes, absolutely. We need to start taking responsibility and educating ourselves and thinking for ourselves, because we need to stop being used by these people.
Yes. And like you talked about yesterday with rising above the bug, just look at this person as a bug, rise above them. Do you know what I mean? So whatever that they're not, like, he might not intentionally be trying to cause harm to anybody. He might be so unaware he doesn't know what he's doing, but he still is responsible. So out vibrate him. And I think you mentioned vibrate high enough you don't get sick.
How about police officers, where they're frontline workers, but they don't? A lot of them are brainwashed and they don't realize what they're doing, which is a threat to their children and their grandchildren, and they have absolutely no idea. Because when they take off that uniform and they go home, they're one of us. They're part of the public, so they're being used when they're at work in that uniform, working for the authorities, not for we the people.
I think that's going to fall away to a certain degree. It's going to come down to the individual, but sooner or later, people have to start realizing that they're not weeding them out, looking for the intelligent ones who want to be good police officers. They're looking for yes people, as they do in the corporations. Any of these organizations who are power hungry, it doesn't matter if it's the police services, if it's the court system, it doesn't matter if it's the medical system, it wouldn't matter if it's a corporation. They're looking for the people who are going to go along.
Absolutely. The ones that
yes men.
Who will comply. Yes.
So if you have a conscience and you realize you're being asked to do something you shouldn't do, then maybe you need to stop that And maybe you need to find another job just like everybody else. I don't give a damn about anybody's pension, because it's the people who pay your pension, the people who pay your benefits, the taxpayer, and the taxpayer who pays your salary. And to have the inverted system that you work for the crown or you work for the government or whatever, that's just your ego talking. And it's just another line of bull that you learned. You work for the people. Without the people, you don't have a job.
They want to create more followers and less leaders. And even in the, in amongst singers and actors, there's more followers and less leaders like there was before, and that's the way that makes
followers with the actors. I'm not sure if I understood. Do you think there's more followers with the actors?
I think in the celebrity Hollywood thing, there's more, Justin Bieber, for me, he's a follower. Whereas Elvis Presley was a leader, Whitney Houston was a leader, George Michael was a leader. Now you've got Lady Gaga, who's a follower. You've got all of these followers, and they're easy to control. And they choose these people because they're followers, to be in power, to make them into idols, so that they can easily control them, and then they can control the public through these idols, because it's their idol. So if Beyonce dresses in a certain way, young girls will copy her and dress in a certain way as well. So it's a lot of influence, and I feel like that Whitney Houston, if she was alive today, I think she would have spoken out about.
I think she's also controlled. I just I get a lot of when I look in her field, I see a lot of abuse, a lot of pain and suffering in childhood. I think I wouldn't be surprised if she was an MK Ultra. And I like her music. I don't have anything against her personally or anything like that. But so when we look, so that can mean two things. What you just described can mean two things to me. One, the black hats are getting desperate, that they realize they've got to make everybody followers and they're going full out to be able to control. Or it means that they're just taking the agenda and they're further down the line, that they're slowly rolling out the slow kill on us of consciousness. Either way, they're going faster at it, so they had to speed it up that way it's more noticeable, or as part of the plan all along. But whoever gets the soul gets the consciousness. That's what the goal is, in my opinion. So it doesn't matter how fast they do it. We have to be a little more alert and stay above it. So whatever they come out with, we come out a little higher. And look at some of the medical breakthroughs that people are coming up with, and they're realizing, okay, this is going to cause this kind of a problem. So then they go and they create another, they find the H2C, whatever it is, and it doesn't matter that it was suppressed. It's still out there and people are still talking about it. So Absolutely. So even if we don't have a linear solution that we climb out of this hole, maybe we bounce, think of it as you fall in the well and you're bouncing off sides of the walls as the water rises or whatever. Doesn't mean it's going to be a smooth ride, but it also doesn't mean that when we get to the top that things aren't going to all balance out. That we're all going to say, okay, well, now we've got this and this and this. So what's a good example? Okay, so we don't know if there's going to be a food shortage. So you go out and get food, you go out and get water, you go out and get, if you need to close items before the stores close. So you go and you prepare, but you go and you get a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So if the time comes, you're in a better position than if you didn't have anything. So I kind of see that. I honestly think consciousness is king. We are waking up. And that's how we are going to out vibrate all of this by as the new energies come in, we're going to stay more alert. That's what I'm getting that big time, that's going to be the way.
Do you think a lot of the fear scaremongering, with the food shortage, or my words are not coming out today, and, other things like that. Do you think that that's more of a distraction or a way to, push until people start fighting back? Maybe the White Hats are partially in control in pushing to wake people up, because in the UK, nobody's pushing. And maybe that's why the UK's got it the worst, because they're pushing until people wake up.
You have food shortages there?
No, we don't. But we're talking about another lockdown here.
And they've talked about something here in August that they plan on, I don't know what they plan on doing, but they figure by then, if there is anything in the jobs that will manifest into some sort of a disease in a hospital stay. So I don't know, right? But I'm not saying I'm not focusing on that. People have been given enough notice by now. They have to decide what are you going to do to stay out of the line of fire. If you didn't know to go and get some food by now, then what do you want us to do? Like people, again, taking that responsibility. So if people need food shortages, water shortages, forced lockdowns, forced medical treatments, and they still haven't woken up.
I know.
What do you
I
need
know.
now? Like a sledgehammer across the side of the head? Like what can I do for you? Wrap your knuckles? Like what do they need to wake up if they haven't figured
Maybe
it
they
out?
just need to restart everything that they've learned and just go back to the beginning, or be incarnated again and just start all over.
Yeah, and I'm not putting them down. They got to do what they got to do. But our society is so codependent. Everybody watches what everybody else does instead of building their own vertical channel, getting to their higher self and understanding their higher abilities and higher consciousness. You know what? If somebody here if they haven't looked after themselves, if somebody knocked on my door, I don't know if I would help them. And when I say that, hear me out, just because then everybody knows you've got food, you've got supplies. If they see that in the neighborhood, but it doesn't mean I wouldn't take stuff and go down to a local food bank and drop something off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like the 100th monkey syndrome, the more people wake up, then those people that you say impossible to wake up, they might just find themselves asking questions about, what's happening. And all they need is one rabbit hole to go through before they open all the other rabbit holes. So it's just that. So I think it's possible. We just need to carry on as we are, and it's spreading.
Totally.
It's spreading like fire, and yes, it can seem slow. There's a lot of people. There's almost 8 billion people in this world. So, we just have to, I'm sure it's going to happen. It's going to happen, but we don't know when, because time doesn't exist. It's just an illusion. It's just a human construct. It all depends on our consciousness. And like I said, the 100th monkey syndrome.
And I get that too, but we're in transition. We're still in the 3D. We still have to follow a certain amount of time and schedules, and to a degree. And as we transition, that's gonna leave. But it doesn't matter when this happens, because we still have an opportunity and an obligation to ourselves to raise our own consciousness. So what comes first? Them making a sign in the public that we all get to see to know to start moving, or do we keep moving in the meantime, so that when they come in and they make an announcement, maybe a certain person's going to come back, that we're all at a higher jumping off point that's going to make it easier for him and whoever his group is to roll out whatever they want to do.
Well, yeah, I think we shouldn't. I mean, if we focus on ourselves, we're already doing something great for those who are asleep. Because if we raise our consciousness, like, they're the 100th monkey syndrome, then the others
60%.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think even, do you know what? When we hear bad things on the mainstream media, or we hear new information coming out that, confirms that the conspiracy theorists were right again, or Trump was right again, like Nick Ferrari says, this is good as well. This is good. It's drip information that somebody who's asleep will be thinking, actually, let me have a look at this again. So I think it's a good thing as well. Although we don't like it, we have to look at the sleepers. I mean, we're okay. I was telling Michelle Fielding yesterday, when Donald Trump is talking, or the mainstream media, we're all good. It's not for us. We're awake. Yeah. It's for the normies to wake up. I
hear he's going to the border on June 30th. He posted that from his website.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting day to see what happens, right? I'm not worried about, I don't mean any disrespect for the people who aren't awake. I'm not worried about them. They've got to make their own decisions. And I find we live in such a society that I've seen, like, they try to pull the people down who are doing the best. And you look at what T did, all he did, and certain people just wanted to pull him down. That is what ugly looks like. That's what evil looks like. That works for everybody. It doesn't matter what station you're in life. If they think you're getting ahead, they're going to try to pull you down. So that's the psychology that needs to change. And it's not just him that's happening. It's very visible because he's so visible. It works that way for everybody. You target somebody, you want to bring them down. Like, how many people are targeted individuals? Mm-hmm. And then you've got 4, 5, 6 people, and you think, what have I done wrong? Why would I have 6 people who want to hurt me? You don't. You probably have one, and they've brought everybody together. That's what the gang stalking is, right? It's a psychological defect. I don't find people have mental illness. I think they have personality disorders. Like, I'm not saying depression, anxiety, those things don't exist, but those things are usually caused by pain or suffering. They've gone through something traumatic.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well,
That shouldn't be a mental issue, a mental disorder. That should be, you've been hurt. You have something, a wound to heal. Where's the compassion in a society that labels them at that point? You've been hurt. Oh, you got the problem. We're going to diagnose you after that. And this is the spiral that some of these systems need to just hit the little lever on the toilet and just flush them down the system, let them fall. But we want to keep growing in ours. And how do we do that? What do? You recognize what your abilities are. You recognize your talents, your gifts. You recognize how unique you are. And that might come off sounding arrogant, and it's not at all. It's what we're supposed to do, is recognize how amazing we are and be able to live based on what it is our talents are and what we want to achieve in the world.
Absolutely. So it's not about being... Absolutely. It's not about being arrogant at all. This is who we are. We have abilities to tap into that we haven't been able to. And we've been victims of the deep state. So there's things that we need to unravel what the deep state have suppressed so we can go back to who we really are. So absolutely.
And when we recognize what we're good at, so one of the exercises that I give people to do is tell me 3 amazing things about you. And I have people who can't come up with 3. And I say, okay, take it home as a homework assignment and we'll do it next week or whatever, right? But it's nothing wrong with them. They're just not used to looking. So if you can't even see the beauty in you, then you can't recognize the beauty in you.
Absolutely.
So it's just because we're not trained to go inside. That's what I think a lot of it is, right? When we know how amazing we are, what does that increase? Our feelings of self-worth. A lot of people feel they're not worthy because we're all taught somebody's got to be the sheep, somebody's got to be the staff, the servants, right? So we're taught we're not worthy, but when you really recognize how powerful you are, your feeling of self-worth goes up. You know you're worthy, you know you're deserving, your confidence goes up. So if somebody comes up and tries to get you to doubt yourself, you bring out the sweep. See that? Side to side. Not this. Side to side, the sweep. No. Do you know what I mean? You just, no.
Yeah.
And that is a barrier itself. That's a boundary itself. That just says, I'm not buying into this. Then they got to find somebody who's gullible that they can deceive, because that's what the good and evil is all about, right? It's their job to deceive you. It's your job not to be deceived by them. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of the personality defects come in, because they want to be sneaky and they want to get past you and they want to, shut the ballot or the voting down at night so they can bring in suitcases. Like all that was done underhanded. But how many years ago, if we didn't have the internet, we wouldn't even know that's happening.
Absolutely.
Sneaky, right? And that's what the problem is. But that's what I see anyways, how we do that. See the value in the contribution you're making. And that was part of why I wanted to say, when people are saying, Nicholas is amazing, you know what I mean? So that's why I wanted to say that, just so that you see the value in yourself and see the contribution you make and see it when you see it in others. And I know you do. I'm saying this for the majority of who's watching this. See the value that you bring to the table. See the value others bring to the table. Compliment people when you see them doing something great. Because we don't do enough of that. We always focus on what's wrong. We're never going to get to a higher realm if we're always focusing on what's wrong.
This is the thing as well. Usually leaders, which I was saying before, leaders actually give credit, they compliment, but where it's due, whereas followers don't do that.
No, they are jealous and they want to see if somebody's getting a compliment, then you can just see the jealousy come in, right? So I like how you say that, because then we have a choice. Do we want to be leaders or do we want to be followers? I have no problem giving anyone compliments when they're genuine. Like I don't just go and, say something for the sake of saying it. I have no problem giving compliments to anybody when it's
absolutely. Absolutely.
And then you have to watch. I was talking to somebody else this week, and so let's look at the intention of people. So she will turn around and she'll pay somebody to do something because she really appreciates them doing it. A leader will say, no, don't worry about it, or will say thank you, whatever's appropriate, and it doesn't matter which way. A follower will say the next time, are you going to pay me for this? Instead of just accepting whatever the flow of energy was for that one. Does that make sense?
I understand.
Sometimes once you start giving people, then they start taking, and then it's like, now we've got an energy imbalance here. That was my generosity that offered you that. That does not mean I'm weak, and it doesn't mean I'm a pushover. That was my generosity or my sense of fairness. But then if the other person keeps asking for money for every little thing they do for you, then you have to stop and realize this is not a friendship. You're the bank.
Absolutely.
Just one way of looking at it, right? But
yeah, absolutely. Even, it goes hand in hand when it even comes to loyalty and trust.
Yes.
It's very, very important,
And those who are waking up, there used to be a saying that I listened to: fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on you; or fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me. And a lot of people are to the point now: fool me once and it's a wrap. Don't call me. Like, we don't care anymore. It's just, you start to see the intention of the person, and that comes with higher consciousness and higher awareness as well. If I don't know the answer to something, I have no problem saying I don't know. There's things I don't even care about. How all this stuff is going to work out on the 3D stuff, I don't even care. I have faith that will work out. I want us to be in the best jumping off point that we can be, so when it starts to happen. And the example will be these, I believe you guys were talking about Tesla coils and different things, that maybe new technologies are coming out. Do we need to use higher consciousness and our conscious energy to be able to activate some of this? I don't know. But how do we know if we're still stuck in 3D and waiting for a manual to sit there and think in a linear fashion to get through it, when it has to come from your heart and your sentience that connects?
Absolutely. Do you think the audits, when the audits are, the results of the audits are confirmed, do you think that that will shift the consciousness? People will start to see what, the system's really about?
I think for some it will, but I think we also have to realize for some there's benefit in the system the way it is. Right? So I'm going to use an example. I hope I'm not out of line, but the person yesterday, she's the head of a group of women. I'm not going to identify them past there, but she said there was a woman who worked at Goldman Sachs, very high up, who wanted to take all the money out of that foundation and go and spend it on an event. And the current president said, no, this is not how we're doing this. We want to keep the coffers in here and keep it for the members and not go spend it on the event. Well, then this vice president from Goldman Sachs started attacking her. And it's like, who do you think you are? Goldman Sachs? Like, you're going to steal the money? Like, you're entitled to all this stuff? Some of these people are not going to change no matter what, because they've got ahead in that energy of take. So they're going to look at that as a threat. And some will dig in deeper. Some will say, hey, I didn't know. Some people are so anti-T. It's like it's a program. It's a hate on. Like, it is amazing. I was watching a certain person. I'm not going to say who it is, and she hates tea. So she's talking about, and she's a public figure. So she's talking to somebody else, and she's going on about the mass bearers and their sheep, and they are sheep, and they are part of the problem. Blah 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 blah. Then she goes on and mentions tea, and then mentions all the tea supporters at the rally, that they're all sheep. And it's wait a minute, but they're not mass bearers. like she couldn't even keep her story straight because she got her hate in there. So then right away, your interpretation of the information that she shares, you have to put your guard, not your guard up, but you put your alert on, because you realize her bias. People can't get past their biases in some cases to make the right decisions. So some will, some won't. I don't care. It's not about that. It's about the people who want to move forward, the visionaries. Where are you going?
Yeah, I think they will become the minority eventually. And when the truth comes out, it's either one way or the other, but everyone's going in a different journey. So they have to do it in their own time when it feels right, but they'll get there in the end.
And I think so too. And maybe they have to go backward before they go forward. Maybe they have to dig down even further before they really realize that, okay, so this is my personal bias and my hate that's forming my opinion, not my ability to discern what policies are good for me as a citizen.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So who knows? I don't think any two people are going to be the same in how they figure this out.
No, but it's I believe it's for the better, because people that have woken up find themselves to be more spiritual. They understand more of the purpose. When when you realize and you wake up to the human trafficking and to all of this demonic stuff that's been going on, it makes you realize, who are we? Why are we really here? Wow, it's really between good and evil. Well, actually, I want to be good. This is why I've been like this, because of the mainstream media, or because of this, or because of society. Wow. And this is why we don't have enough love. And then when we realize that's what that's why we don't have enough love, because of the way we've been driven by these dark people, we start wanting more of that, more love. Yeah.
So where are they going to get the role model for what love is? So that's a great point there. Where are they getting a role model for where love is? Because we're not encouraged love anywhere in society. It's a 4-letter word. You see it on different items of clothing, but who do you see who's genuinely loving? And when I'm saying that, I'm not, you're genuine. There's no doubt about it. You care about what's going on. You give people the benefit of the doubt. That's one type of love. And there's all kinds of other types of love, but we're not really trained to even go looking for love. We're just trained to find security, whether in a partner or in a corporation. Do you know what I mean? Like, look how many people go and work for a corporation. They find out they've got to sign like do not disclose documents, and they can't talk about it because there's nefarious work being done there, even though it's done under the name of security or defense or what have you, right?
I think it's more of a collective work together. And as the evil is eradicated, we will feel more love. But the kind of love where we need to look within to get, to find peace, but we will be asking ourselves, we'll be feeling that there will be a shift in consciousness where it would come more naturally to us. And it would spread like fire. Yeah.
It has to come within. And that's the thing. I wrote something out here. Love is the way, it is the answer. But without spiritual and emotional boundaries, it can be as chaotic and confusing as life without it. It is knowing how to access it and use it. What is the purpose of love? What's the benefit of love? What does love feel like? And what I'm finding is a lot of people, especially the last number of generations, got the impression they were here to be served and look after everybody else, that they shut their own hearts down. So it's interesting when you listen to 528 hertz, that's the frequency of love. People, their heart just starts to open because they have to vibrate and be that love. And it all goes within. And that's where I'm talking about self-worth, self-esteem, confidence. If you hate yourself and you don't think you're worthy, you're not loving yourself. If you can't love yourself, you can't be that radiating heart, that radiating energy that emanates from people who truly love themselves and love others, also with boundaries. So they know when another person's rights start and stop in there. So there's a lot of working parts to all of the consciousness. What you're talking earlier as well about when you look at waking up, some people look at waking up just to see what's going on in the physical. They're looking at the trafficking, they're looking at the corruption. That's waking up to one aspect of it. But the inner work is the spiritual work where you go in. So we need both. We need various types of awakening and consciousness reviews. So we need it, one, to see what the macro's doing. How do we get this way? But when we do the inner work and we see how we work inside ourselves, then we can spot what makes sense in the macro. Let's do this. If we do this, we're going to create the same mess we just got ourselves out of and start to come from a good place naturally.
Well, I think it's important. I think when we implement a new educational system, that it's, teaching love in education and peace and how to love ourselves is something that needs to be in the education system. But even if it's very gradual, very slowly. And also when we go to restaurants or we go to, we go out and we see family or we see friends or we see strangers and we interact with other humans, I always try to say, thank you, please, smile. I ask them how they are. I don't see the waiter as the waiter. I see the waiter as another person who has a mum and dad who loves that person.
Yeah.
And I try to relate to them and be nice to them, because we need to lead by example.
Totally. And I used to work in hospitality, and I will say this from firsthand experience. Run a hotel for a month without the general manager. And if you've trained your department heads right, it's no problem. Run a hotel for a month without the dishwasher or the maids, you're screwed. You can't, we need everybody. So the theory that you're above somebody else is only in people's heads. It's not real. We need everybody. Maybe they're in those jobs because they're saving up to go to school, or they're in school and can't be in a career where they have to take their work home with them. They have to leave their work behind them. Wait staff is a perfect example. You don't go home and have homework to do.
Well, look at the deep state. They have very high positions, and materialistically, they're in a higher position. But spiritually, they're in a lower frequency, right?
Totally.
They're below us.
Not going to say they're below us, because you don't know what they're doing behind the scenes and what chemical compounds are adding to themselves. But when it comes to intention and being decent and being genuinely a good human being, they've got a heck of a lot further to go if they're ever going to make it.
That's what I mean. But that below us, we're higher in love. We're much more advanced in that way.
We're higher, yes, and caring about other people, right? So now, what do you call that aspect of spirituality? I don't even know what you would be able to put that into a category of its own. What's your love potential? How much can you see that other people are as important as you? So the whole system needs to come down, and it is like when you look at the educational system, I think to a lot of the department heads are there because they're there to make sure that the frontline workers don't understand certain concepts. You know what I mean? They're there to keep people stupid and not knowing how how true humans work emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and in some ways physically.
I'm going to be discreet about this because I want to keep this on YouTube. But yesterday I called my medical center, and I spoke to someone that was working there, and I called to ask for something else, and they said to me, "Did you get the jab?" And I said, "Absolutely not." I said, and they said, "Oh, how comes?" And then I said, "Because it hasn't been approved according to the 3-letter agency, And she said, "No, it has." She said. I said, "No, it hasn't." She goes, "Well, I disagree." Well, I said, "You're not disagreeing with me, you're disagreeing with the 3-letter agency. I suggest you go and have a look." And they're absolutely clueless. But hey, I planted the seed in their brain. So who knows that they might go and look at it, by themselves. Who knows?
So now they have to go against their own sense of security. They have to go against their own sense of ego. So for 2 reasons, if it's true that they're what you're saying, and I know it's true what you're saying, but then they're doing something that's illegal. So do they leave their job and say, my integrity means more to me, but then you have to worry about whether you're going to collect a paycheck. So are you willing inside to turn a blind eye and keep doing the nefarious activity because money rules? So I think when the new financial system comes in, at some point, it's going to give permission for people to flip the switch and go to the new system and let the old systems fall. But at the same time, if they're only doing it for the guarantee of money, what's changed inside them? They haven't had a spiritual growth or an evolution. So I honestly don't know what that looks like. And it doesn't matter. Everybody has to decide on their own. But I know what I think it should look like. And I help people try to figure out where they want to go with it for themselves, right? So it's never about me. When I work with people, it's always about what do they need? Where are they at with their growth? And what do they need to do? But I'll say this, Nicholas, when you show people who don't love themselves and you point out, like they start pointing out their good qualities and you reinforce it, it takes no time for them to flip the switch. And then all of a sudden you have a session with them and they're almost like they're a different person because they're confident, they know they're good at something. Then they start looking for their goals again.
Absolutely. I think they need that. Yeah.
A lot of people do, but it's not that people don't need ego stroking. They just need to be reminded how to look inside for themselves. And when you make them tell you what their good qualities are, they do the work, but then they start hearing their body say it, which is all part of how we bring up consciousness when we speak well about ourselves to ourselves. It starts turning the spiral around. So instead of the negative spiral of demoralization that our society is partially directed at now, it brings more people in the upward spiral.
Yes, it does.
So it's an energetic shift.
And you create a new reality for them because now you've put an idea in their heads. They're thinking about that because they think there's hope that there can be something great, which of course is possible with every single one of us. And they start to create a new reality because that's what we are. Our thoughts are,
totally. Their emotions, our beliefs, our actions, all those things, right? But the thing is, it's the question. Tell me 3 amazing things about you. The answers are for them, but it's the question that opens up and changes the world. It's the question itself. Tell me something amazing about you. Mm-hmm. And if you can't, I'll give you 2 minutes, and then I'm going to tell you 3 things that I've seen about you, and we'll get you started that way. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's positive all around.
But when you go to a job interview, it's the other way around. It's what's your weaknesses? They want to try and make you feel really down, so you can see how if you snap, Yeah. You want to see how
I don't do well at job interviews. I haven't worked for anybody in probably, I'm just going to say, a really long time. And it's not an attitude problem.
Well, I haven't worked for anyone for about a decade now.
Yeah. Well, I've got a few more miles on me than you do, but so it's been a little longer than that, but we should be entrepreneurs. We should be doing what we love and creating a great income based on that.
Well, in respect to entrepreneurs, the difference between entrepreneurs and businessmen is that businessmen are motivated by profit, financial gain, whereas an entrepreneur is not interested. He would rather lose some money, but know that he's passionate about something. He wants to invent something. He wants to bring something new to the community or to the table. Yes. And I believe that's what we're doing. You know,
Yes.
we're trying to raise that consciousness. We're talking about things that the mainstream media isn't talking about. We're talking about things that, that makes us look crazy. Conspiracy theorists, we're going against the system, the grain.
We're
It's
going against the
dividing us.
system, but that doesn't make us look crazy.
No. But we're willing to take those, we're willing to do those things.
Yes,
Because
take
we
the
want,
chances.
we want something different. We want to improve.
Right. And that's what I do. Nobody, when I say nobody, I don't know many people who do what I do, but it doesn't matter. You come up with your own niche and you come up with your own style and you put the different things that you've learned and you come up with an eclectic system. Like you can't hurt anybody with what I do. Right. Do you know what I mean? But so now we've got a new way of looking at yourself, of waking yourself up, of aligning energetically. You still might need your doctor. That's your business. Like I don't go down those alleys. I don't work in that area, but I just show people how to go inside and elevate themselves to where I think we can possibly go. I don't even know what the end is yet because I'm not there yet. But when I start talking to people and I'm working with people or I see things and then I start connecting one more dot to the existing dots, next thing you know, you've got a solid line and you've got a pathway.
Absolutely. No, definitely.
It makes a big difference, right?
Well, Sandy, it's been absolutely amazing having you on. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the listeners before we finish?
If I may, this is work by Louise Hay. Now, Louise Hay has passed away. Louise Hay, I believe, started Hay House when she was 52.
Right.
So for people who are maybe a little later in life and you're looking to start something new, a new career, there's no reason why you can't start at whatever time and make it. But what this is called is deep at the center of my being, there's an infinite well of love. I now allow this love to flow to the surface. It fills my heart, my body, my mind, my consciousness, my very being, and radiates out from me in all directions and returns to be multiplied. The more love I use and give, the more I have to give. The supply is endless. The use of love makes me feel good. It is an expression of my inner joy. I love myself. Therefore, I take loving care of my body. I lovingly feed it nourishing foods and beverages. I lovingly groom it and dress it. And my body lovingly responds to me with vibrant health and energy. I love myself. Therefore, I provide myself a comfortable home, one that fills up all my needs and is a pleasure to be in. I fill the rooms with the vibration of love so that all that enter, myself included, will feel this love and be nourished by it. I love myself. Therefore, I work at a job that I truly enjoy doing, one that uses my creative talents and abilities, working with and for people whom I love and who love me, and earning a good income. I love myself. Therefore, I behave and think in a loving way to all people, for I know that which I give out returns to me multiplied. I only attract loving people in my world, for they are a mirror of what I am. I love myself. Therefore, I forgive and totally release the past and all past experiences, and I am free. I love myself. Therefore, I live totally in the now, experiencing each moment as good and knowing that my future is bright and joyous and secure. For I am a beloved child of the universe, and the universe lovingly takes care of me now and forevermore. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. And I wanted to finish with that. This is how you bring more love and you focus on it.
Well, amen to that. That was absolutely, it's an amazing poem.
Yes,
no, thank you. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Sandy. It's always wonderful having you on. And
always nice seeing you too.
Yeah, and we'll speak very soon. Okay.
Sounds good. Okay. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Take care, everybody. God bless.
God bless.